Feathers in the dust, when the riders came for me. I remember the way the dust rose that evening, golden in the dying sun, carrying with it the sound of hooves that would change everything in my life. I sat in the middle of the street, calm on the outside but storming on the inside. My braids lay heavy against my shoulders, turquoise beads cool against my skin, and the feathers in my hair, two small gifts from my father, stirred in the restless wind. Those feathers had always been a symbol of quiet strength. Little did I know they would mark me that night, a target in the eyes of men riding hard through the setting sun. The town was nearly deserted. Doors shuttered, curtains drawn, as if every soul inside knew what was coming. I could smell the dry wood of the buildings, the sharp tang of whiskey lingering from the saloon, and the faint sweetness of prairie grass caught on the breeze. I had come here seeking work, though I knew most folks didn't welcome a woman like me. Some saw me as a curiosity, others as trouble. And yet, I walked that road with my head high, reminding myself that the West was vast enough for even a woman like me to carve her own path. But as I sat there on that dusty street, listening to the thunder of hooves drawing closer, my heart betrayed my calm face. I had been warned these men weren't ordinary cowboys. They were riders who took what they wanted, left dust and sorrow behind, and thought themselves kings of the frontier. Still, I refused to rise. Something inside me wanted them to see that I would not run, that I belonged here just as much as any man with a gun on his hip. They came into view, silhouettes against the fire-colored sky, their figures swallowed by a storm of dust. I could see their hats tilted low, their scarves pulled high, the glint of rifles in their saddles. My pulse raced, yet I forced myself to stay still, my hands folded in my lap. The leader slowed his horse, the beast's hooves kicking dirt so close I could taste it on my lips. He leaned forward, studying me as though I were some puzzle. His voice was low, rough with command. "You're sittin' awful calm for a woman in the way of 6 armed men. And you afraid?" I looked up at him, my eyes steady. "Fear doesn't change what's coming." His men chuckled darkly, but he didn't. His gaze dropped to the feathers in my hair, and something unreadable flickered in his eyes. "You carry those feathers proud," he muttered. "Reminds me of a girl I once knew." For a moment, the dust, the heat, the weight of their presence all seemed to pause. His words cracked the hard shell I had built around my heart. Who was this man who rode with thieves, yet carried a memory that softened his voice? But the moment didn't last. Another rider barked, "Boss, let's move her. And no need to waste time." The leader didn't answer. Instead, he swung down from his horse, boots hitting the dirt with a thud. He stood before me, tall and dust-stained, a man carved by the West itself. He offered me his hand. I hesitated. Accepting it meant stepping into a world I didn't understand, one I had no reason to trust. Yet his eyes, dark, tired, and carrying more sorrow than menace, held me. I reached up. His rough hand closed around mine, steady and unshaking. That night, instead of riding past with cruelty, they lingered. I found myself by their campfire, the smell of beans cooking over the flames, the low murmur of men who lived too long on the wrong side of the law. But it was him, the leader, who kept near me, silent except when he spoke of things he rarely confessed. "I didn't choose this life," he admitted, voice crackling like the firewood. "But the West, it don't care for the weak. Sometimes you ride with the devil just to keep breath in your lungs." I saw it then, the loneliness he carried, the weight of choices made long ago. And against all reason, I felt my own loneliness reach toward his, like two weary travelers meeting at last in the wilderness. By dawn, the riders were gone. They left nothing behind but wheel ruts in the dirt, ashes from the fire, and a silence so deep it pressed on my chest. Yet something had shifted in me. I had sat in the street with calm defiance, certain I would be broken or cast aside. Instead, I discovered that even in the roughest souls, there are cracks where tenderness can seep through. The man who could have destroyed me had, instead, shown me a piece of his wounded heart. I never saw him again. But the memory stayed, his hand pulling me up from the dirt, his eyes catching on the feathers in my hair as if they reminded him of who he once was. And so I carry those feathers still, not as a mark of fear, but as a reminder. In the dust and danger of the West, even when the riders come for you, strength isn't always found in the gun at your hip. Sometimes, it's found in the quiet defiance of sitting tall, and in the unexpected compassion of a stranger who sees you not as an enemy, but as someone worth remembering. The West is full of stories. This one is mine. And every time the wind stirs those feathers, I remember the night the riders came for me, and left me changed forever.